All right, here we are, finally hearing from Adam Peters. It's about damn time.
We've got 2 Commanders interviews in the bucket. We got 2 more still to come. Nick, let's roll that intro.
Hail to the Commanders! It's the Commanders Squad. Everything Washington Commanders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of the nation's capital. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Rally the burgundy and gold. The Commanders Squad Show starts now.
All right, Anthony Armstrong, David Harrison, Nick Asher. Yes, Anthony, I threw him on the screen before he was ready, getting his headphones on. This is sometimes how it goes. But listen, this is a casual thing for us here. We just pop on. This isn't a studio. You know, we'll work on as he works on his audio there. You know what? I probably could have waited 2 more minutes, but in my defense, Anthony, we didn't. We wanted to get going because David's got it. We all limited time. All right, he'll come back in a second as we'll do that. He'll probably just be mad at me and be like, yo, dummy, you could have given me 2 more minutes. In my defense, David, I can at least pull back the curtain a little bit. Who's the last person always on here? It's Anthony.
It's
every single time. It's every single time. All right. So you were obviously out there and you heard Adam Peters speak, kind of set the stage for us a little bit. I've seen, obviously, he's talked about Daron Payne not extending him without giving everything away here. Laramie Tunsil is going to be a part of the conversation as well. I mean, this is the guy that obviously has responsibilities to build this roster and look not just at this offseason, but moving forward as well, as we also may have Anthony back on here. Now, the question is, before David gives us the background, I know we probably could have waited 2 more minutes, but we got a tight window today, buddy. So we'll make it casual. You pop on. That's the beauty of all this. You hear us and you're good, and that's all that really matters, all right?
David, are you at the look like you at the mall at the food court, man?
I'm in the Indianapolis Convention Center, or the Indiana Convention Center, my bad, in Indianapolis, beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, for the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine.
Nice. You've been to more combines than me.
I feel like your one trip to the combine probably more successful than all of mine.
I didn't go. I didn't get that.
You didn't go to the combine?
Nah, man.
Even still, your combine related path is still more successful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take that.
Unless Madden creative players count from back in the day. Like Madden creative players,
they can count if you want them to.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
I was listening to the Adam Peters press conference in my ear, and I realized the issue is that I didn't turn the volume up, y'all. The volume was all the way down. I was like, I can't hear these guys. I mean, I tried everything else but that knob.
Just the simple thing.
Hey, it is what it is.
Hey,
we're here. Glad to see y'all.
It all happens. It all happens sometimes. We don't check the volume, or we sometimes don't unplug or plug back in the router fast enough. And sometimes you just give that. So well, obviously Adam Peters is going to be a big conversation on the show today. Zach Ertz also saying that he expects or is hoping to be ready for week 1 of the NFL season, what his future looks like and whether it's a part of it. And let's keep an eye on what's going on with that Eagles offense, because A.J. Brown, Nick Sirianni, this thing does not sound any better given what Nick Sirianni had to say too. But we'll start with Adam Peters, David. And, I mean, look, there are a lot of conversations about guys' futures that are currently on this roster, not just Zach Ertz, who's a free agent and injured. But I think one of the big questions this offseason right now has to be Daron Payne and his future and whether or not he's getting an extension, what it's going to look like. Do they consider moving him? I think there's a lot of factors that are certainly there at this point. And I know he talked about that today too.
He did, and the more we go through this, the more I kind of just get the feeling that Daron is going to play on what he's got right now. Like his contract is going to stay the same. It's going to be what it is. He's going to play it out, and the Washington Commanders are going to go from there. And I think, if you have that situation, then obviously, the reading between the lines, right? Not putting words in Adam Peters' mouth, but reading between the lines, that means that the franchise is leaning on moving on from him when that contract comes up. And I know that a lot of fans are going to have a problem with the cap hit that he's, scheduled to go on and all that kind of stuff. But you also have to look at what's coming down the pipe, right? You have the potential Marshon Lattimore release that Adam Peters, kind of commented on a little bit here today. You've got some potential restructures coming down as well, and even the extension for Laramie Tunsil. Like that extension for Laramie Tunsil, once it is finished, and we do expect it to get finished at some point in the relatively near future, which relatively near future means before training camp. Like, just to be, at least when I say it, that's what relatively near future means, is before training camp. That actually is going to free up cap space, right? Like they're going to tack on new money, they're going to extend the bonuses out, maybe tack on a void year, and it's going to stretch that money out to where Laramie Tunsil's cap hit is actually going to count for less this year. So, like, without even touching Deron Payne's contract, the Washington Commanders could have $100 million in cap space. So when you have $100 million in cap space, you can afford to allow Deron Payne's cap hit to sit right where it is, because what the difference between the cap hit and actual money is different. And the actual money is what, like, Josh Harris is going to care about. The cap hit is what the media and the fans care about, but it's real money that we're talking about. And when you push money down into the future, you have to kind of cut new checks and do all these other things. So the bottom line is, like, unless the Washington Commanders need $128 million in cap space this offseason, it's not really that big of a deal for Deron Payne to play this thing out the way that it is.
Man, I think he's the thing with that is, if he's going to be such a valuable piece, why not try to get something for him now, right? Or, somewhat sooner. And there's still time to do that if that's where the planning wanted to go about it. But, I mean, he is a talented player. I mean, he's been a dog on the defense. And, I've heard a lot of chatter where people are like, well, hey, you know how he plays in a contract year? I'm like, yeah, but then you have to pay him. And then is that performance going to still show up, or are we going to be having conversations and being upset here, a year or two down the line? I want the guy to continue to ball. I want him to still play at a high level, and I think he's going to be a very impactful player for the defense. But when you're trying to navigate, one player versus the overall team success and where it's going to be going, and I kind of zoned out because you were dropping some dimes over there, but did you mention the eventual signing of Jaden Daniels at some point? Like, that's going to be a contract. Make sure they
need that money, and you push Deron Payne's money down the line. Like, you push $12 million into next year's cap. That sounds good this year. Now I tell you, okay, well, Deron Payne's cap hit this year is actually only 22 million or 16 million or something like that. You're like, yeah, that's a much better number, but then you're accounting for 12 something million in next year's cap that you now don't have, like you said, to re-sign Jaden or extend Jaden or go sign, another AJ Brown after he becomes a free agent or something.
Yeah. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they'll say down here in Texas, Nick, so
hey, careful. My cat is sitting right over there right now, man.
You just got to send them a message. Hey, I had a random cat show up at my garage the other day, man.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. Big old Garfield looking thing, man. I thought it was a bobcat. It was so big. I was like, look, don't come around. I got a dog that'll chase after your ass. Don't come over here playing with me. And it scurried on. I'm really upset at the Coyotes around here. I would have figured, they would have handled that at some point. Sounds bad, but that's what happened. You see the missing cat signs, and I'm like, hey, I hate to tell it to you, man. Your cat gone, man. Your cat is out of here.
Those Coyotes are nasty, man. They don't play around. So you're right. Yeah. The difference here is my cat is going to show up at other people's doors. We let her outside, but then at the same time, she's like, yeah, I'm coming right back home, and I'm not going to bother anybody. So listen, you brought up something too, David. I think that's really important. It's like, this team could have a ton of cap space. You mentioned the $128 million if you're going to extremes, and we're not finalized where every team is in the NFL in terms of what their cap space looks like. That's how this time of year goes. But there's a certain point where you have a ton of it, but you can't use it all because there's only so much you can do in free agency. You can also have a bunch of cap space, but you've got to be able to identify the talent that's actually there. So you have to start. That's really where the balance is, especially right now. Look, this is such a massively pivotal offseason for the Commanders, where there's a level of trust you have to show the fan base, trust you have to show the players that are in that locker room, show that you're continuing to build all of this culture that actually exists, but also show that there's a trajectory there, that you're not going to fall back into another 5-win season, and you're going to be able to add to this team in terms of depth, which was one of their major problems last year. So I think the concept of cap space is nice, but you've got to have players that want to be a part of it, got to want to sign the contracts you're going to want to give them, and also make the right decisions. Because I'm looking here too. I mean, another really important offseason move for them is Marshon Lattimore, who Adam Peters is essentially saying, like, we still have a few more conversations, but until then, he's still on our team. Which, when you hear a quote like that, David, that tells you it doesn't really sound great for Marshon Lattimore. As we know, too, this trade has not worked out. It's been bad from the beginning. The injuries, the lack of performance, none of this has worked out. Not every trade is going to, but the Marshon Lattimore has had a really, really bright spotlight on it and has not worked out for this team.
Well, it doesn't help that it was the first big swing that Adam Peters took as the general manager of this team, and it was the first full step that this team took into what was perceived as going all in. You know, the Washington Commanders were obviously in the midst of a more successful 2024 than anybody expected them to. Then you go out and get Marshon, and the conversation's all about, well, it's the future. We know he's hurt, and it's more about the stretch and the playoffs and all those things. And then they get to the postseason, and it wasn't all on Marshon or anything like that that they got knocked out of the NFC Championship game. But then just the pressure kind of just mounts from there from the public perception, right? And now that price tag is going to come home to roost. His age, the injury, the fact that I think that there has to be part of the evaluation, Anthony, here that very clearly officials come onto the field on Sunday. If Marshon Lattimore is there, they're looking for him and they're looking to see if they can throw a flag against him. And if you're a GM building a team, you got to know when you have a player who has that reputation amongst the officiating crew. And that certainly has to make a difference. I think when AP talks about a few more conversations to be had, it's the amount of the injury settlement that they're going to give him when they release him. Because he got injured playing football for the Washington Commanders, they can't just cut him loose and say thanks but no thanks. They have to give him an injury settlement or else they face a grievance. And there's all kinds of other messes that go with that, Anthony. But I think it's a done deal. It's just figuring out what kind of check Josh Harris has to write to get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, positive side is like, hey, maybe they're trying to figure out, can you fix them? Because they're gonna have more information than we do. You know what I mean? Is there anything that's gonna kind of be able to come back? Can Durante work some magic and maybe have a scheme or do something that's simple enough? And I see the lead commander says, "Sorry, Marshon has to go." I mean, obviously that's probably likely way it's gonna happen. But hey, I'm always fighting for a player to get back going in the right direction. But sometimes change the scenery is best, and it's going to be best for everybody. But you truly need to go ahead, and they're going to find the best way to part ways and allow them to probably draft somebody. Maybe bring a little young fire in here at the CB position down the line. Man, that dude walking by with the neon arms and legs kind of threw me off, man.
Yeah, I saw him walking. I was like,
oh my gosh, he went that way on purpose. He gave the George Jefferson walk.
It kind of looked like you did, to be honest with you.
He did.
It kind of looked like it.
Tell them to go tune into the show there and jump in the comments.
Lead commander also says that I would get less penalties than Marshon Lattimore. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to be grabbing some guys, though. The one thing, you don't want me out there. Maybe in my 20s, but it ain't the same now. I did play corner in high school. That's because I could catch until I put a helmet on, Anthony, and then it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder, so I recognize that, That's why I played on the other side of the football there.
That helmet changes things, don't it?
It does. It does. It's like you get into you're younger, right? And you get to that point. I'm going to play football in high school. I've been really good at flag football as a kid. You get out there, you put on the pads, and you're like, damn it, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. So, it changes things real quick. So I get it. But yeah, I would hope that I remember penalties, but
I remember the day I decided to move to linebacker. So and this is a brief story, but I had a coach and he's like, you might be better off as a linebacker. I was trying to be a running back / tight end. And my dad I was like, I want to play offense. I want to play running back. If they want me to play tight end, fine. You got to catch the ball. So my dad takes me out to a park, put my helmet on, nothing else, no pads, just helmet, put the helmet on, go out there, run a nice little dig. Back then, I only called it an in because that's all I knew. Yeah. Went out there, ran a little in, and the ball hit me square in the face. And never saw it coming. Never had a chance. And that was the day where my dad and I agreed. Linebacker is the way to go. So.
Man.
Sometimes you have certain dreams and you realize, you know what, I'm meant to do something a little different, and that's okay. It's the acceptance that really matters.
And 0 career interceptions later, it made a lot of sense.
Sometimes I wish I could see like media members game film from whenever they did play. However, whatever it was, that would just be fun to watch. Not even to type of critique or anything, just to watch. I'd be like, man.
Yeah.
So
see what you look like at your athletic peak. What was your athletic peak?
Because it's usually a hammer and nail story about people's relationship with football. It's just like with baseball. There's so many football players who are like, I got hit by one ball one time and I gave the bat back and never played baseball again. So I wish I would have tried baseball. I think I would have enjoyed it, but I could feel it. If I'd have got hit, I'd be like, you know what? I'd choose football.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's right. It's the welcome to the NFL moment or the welcome to the sport moment that changes things. One contract that did get done, though, Andrew Wylie signed a 2-year deal. Really valuable and kind of spot starter backup for them. Obviously, depth was certainly an issue around this team in a lot of different spots. But it kind of felt like, David, as the season went on, they started to figure things out on the offensive line. It wasn't perfect by any means, but they started to figure out position rotation, sort of where the swing guys might end up on a consistent basis on that offensive line. So there's definitely a value there in bringing somebody back like Andrew Wylie, who can do a lot of different things for them.
Yeah, 100%. Got the opportunity to ask Adam Peters in his time at the podium about Andrew Wylie and that decision to bring him back. And what makes me feel good as a reporter, Anthony, is when I say something and then I hear either a player say the same thing or a coach or a GM. And when I wrote the story for Andrew Wylie re-signing for WSA9.com, shameless plug, go read it. I wrote a lot of stuff about in there about not just the offensive line play. We know he's an offensive lineman in the National Football League, but who he is as a teammate, who he is as a leader. I pulled a quote from December when everything's going down the tube and just kind of him talking about, coming together as a team and finding a way, with the reps that you have to go out there and do some good and things like that, and why that's extremely valuable. I know he's an older player and everybody wants to get younger, but not every guy can be a young guy. You need those veteran leaders in the locker room. And Adam Peters, when I asked him about Andrew Wylie bringing him back, he either read the article and said, "Yeah, same thing. I'll just say those words back to you," or he means it, and I'm going to believe that he means it because he's a very busy person. I don't think he scouts out Commanders articles all that often. I think he kind of knows what's going on with the Commanders. He doesn't need to read my work. So that makes me feel good because I think I'm on the right track. And also, again, just a person who wants to be a part of this team. AP kind of mentioned it. Anthony took a pay cut last year to stay with the team. You know what I mean? And Andrew's not a guy who's going to go on the open market and not find a job. He's going to have a job out there if he ends up released, but he took a pay cut to stay with the team. It just kind of shows his dedication. So for them to reward him with not just a 1-year extension, but a 2-year deal with some good guaranteed money on it, I think it showcases how they value that loyalty.
Man, that's good to hear, especially from a player getting the contract side of things, because you never know how a front office is going to act, how they're going to treat somebody. You think that they're going to be loyal because he was one of their signings, free agent signings when he first came in. So now he's gotten re-signed. I mean, Adam said he's going to take care of people that he knows. And then you rarely are you rewarded for your loyalty, taking a pay cut and then getting that opportunity to come back. So character box checked. On the field is a check because he does fill up a lot of positions. He's able to fill in and jump in a lot of spaces. So it's good to know that you have that part of it lined up. And congratulations to him, man. I'm happy for him. It's always good to see somebody get a paycheck and be able to have a little bit more security and provide for their fam. So I'm happy for it. I think that's a good signing. Definitely one less question mark, and you can still add to the O-line room and you wouldn't even be mad at it.
That kind of helps too with a little bit of it shows that players want to be there and want to be a part of the culture that have been, with the organization. I think that's something that's really important to keep in mind here, is that you also want to show to the outside, because the outside perception of this organization, you want it to change. And it's gotten certainly better, but you come off a 5-12 season and you still need to show that I don't think anybody here on this show believes that it's same old, but there are a lot of people that believe it's same old sometimes, and sometimes it's fans, but you want to make sure, more importantly, that agents and other players that could potentially be a part of the team don't look at this and say, it's the same team that it used to be. Guys are just going there for a payday. No, they're trying to build something. They want to win, and players are willing to take pay cuts even to stay there, to be a part of it, David. Those are the types of things that are massively important, that aren't just based on what happens on the football field. And people can say whatever they want about perception, but perception is reality. We live in a world today where perception can be manipulated in a lot of different ways. So they are showing in some of these even smaller moves where if you bring back players willing to stay, could go somewhere else, get more money. No, I want to stay in Washington. That's showing that you have something that's special there that people want to be a part of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. And then for Adam Peters himself, like there's an optionality factor to it, right? Like I call it versatility, flexibility, whatever. His favorite word is optionality, so that's what he's going to call it. You now have Andrew Wylie under contract, and obviously he can be valuable depth, swing tackle, next guard in type of thing. You've got Nick Allegretti, who's still on the roster and can do the backup center thing, but also can fill in at guard as he did last season. And you got Brandon Coleman, who kicked over to left tackle at the end of last season, and I think he showed off better there than he did at left guard early last season, but building off that experience. So now as you're getting into these contract negotiations with a guy like Chris Paul, you're not coming at it from an aspect of, we've got to sign this dude, right? Like you've got options. And Adam Peters, it was telling to me, like it stood out to me. He said all these great things about Andrew Wylie, but he also said, and he's the guy who can start in this league still. And I'm like, because if you're telling me that, you're probably telling Chris Paul's agent that as well. Like, listen, dude, like we love Chris, but he's not the only dude that could start for this team at left guard if we need him to. They could also go to the draft and get a day 2 or day 3 interior offensive lineman. And now you've got Brandon Coleman, another, young guy to develop, and then Andrew Wylie and Nick Allegretti. So like, that's what it's all about, is that optionality and having the ability to be flexible and not have to get painted into a corner, whether it be by an agent for a player looking to re-sign, a free agent, a trade, or a draft pick, Anthony.
That's the roster building and the depth that's slowly growing as you're seeing the continuity build with these guys that are being around. And I can say I've always felt, and this was probably just because I was an older player getting to the league, I was like, man, sometimes if the situation's good, you need to take what you got, right? Going out there trying to get the most at another spot isn't always the best. And I understand being a young player, you want to go and start, but you got to take some things into consideration. What situation are you potentially going to go into? Could they put you in a bad spot where you find yourself getting demoted and getting benched, and now you're out of the league, before your contract is even, finished? So there's a few things to consider. And this is not a knock on Chris Paul or his play. It's just different ways to think about it, especially coming from a player standpoint. There's some good things going right here in Washington. You've obviously seen injuries have been something that people want to consider. And with the way that Adam Peters was talking about having David Blau and mentioning the relationship that they had and speeding up the process of installing the offense, it would behoove me that you're going to have a little more success staying with somebody that you already know, especially knowing that David Blau knows him, Nick. And that could be something that helps speed that process. And maybe Chris can, advocate for himself a little bit more and not rely all on the agent. Because a lot of times young players will be like, well, my agent said, and it's like, hey, man, he works for you, right? He works for you. You have the opportunity to say, you know what, let's go with this situation because it could be better for me in my career, my family, rather than trying to go on elsewhere.
Yeah, and listen, you mentioned familiarity with David Blau coming in, all the familiarity that he can have with players that he's already worked with. That's why promotions from within certainly help in a lot of ways, especially in such a pivotal offseason. Pivotal year for them, having somebody that you've already has been in the building that's has a level of comfort with certain players, and where they fit in that system, and all of those things absolutely matter. All right, we mentioned Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz will be a free agent. Does hope to be back from that knee injury around week 1, if not week 1 of the NFL season. The question is he a part of this roster? We know the Commanders need help at tight end. If not Zach Ertz, where will this team go when it comes to actually looking at the tight end position? Anthony Armstrong, David Harrison's live out in Indianapolis. Nick Ashew on Commander Squad. And as the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner's a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference, and that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits, too, for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Also, those are kind of really important things, right? That's what you want in your meal. They come ready to fit your schedule, 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options that are going to be including family-sized meals, different dietary choices, all the different things out there. They cover it all. Recipes are simplified. They feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay's even involved with this. He won't yell at you. You're just going to have his recipes that are there. That's it. It saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on groceries. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber, of course, to receive that free dessert. All right, Anthony Armstrong, David Harrison, and Nick Ashew. David's out in Indianapolis trying to figure out I don't know what's going on with something out there. You good, buddy? You got a lot of moving parts. You got weird costumes behind you. There's a lot going on with you.
Yeah, Big Dom walked by. Big Dom walked by, so I had to go out there and tell him what's what before I came back. But
Okay,
there you go. That's what I like to hear.
That's settling the score. I like that.
I had to go throw a battery at him.
I like that, Nick. You Philly, just like Philly, man. God,
yep.
Nick, you mentioned Gordon Ramsay. I met that guy one time. My first trip down there in Miami. Randomly enough, they're like, "Hey, they're doing a show up in like Pompano or something." It was a pizza restaurant that was getting redone, and I was on the show. Very
really?
They didn't even ID. Yeah, I was on the show. They didn't ID me though, which was kind of BS. They had 3 players up there. They ID'd 2 of us. Didn't ID me, but I was also proud to announce that he didn't yell at me because I was like,
that's good.
So interestingly enough, I can proudly say that my wife will proudly tell anybody who listens, Gordon Ramsay is her best friend. So,
oh yeah, well tell Gordon.
Taught her how to make a good steak, which I eat plenty of. If you can't tell from the screen,
okay,
all right,
okay. Well, tell him I said what's up there next time. He won't remember.
Lead commander David also wants you to go body slam Big Dom. I don't know if we want to go that far, but I would certainly love to see it. If you'd bring the camera with you, we'd be good to go.
Listen, he's Big Dom for a reason, and you could call me Big Dave. It's kind of weird. Nobody's ever done this, so don't do it. But he would be bigger Dom. I'm not saying I can't take him to the ground. I don't know about body slamming though. I mean, look, I'll spar anybody. Dietrich Wise Jr. challenged me to sparring once he's healthy, and I told him. I don't like all 4-foot reach he's got on me and everything. Like I'll take the challenge. I'm probably gonna lose, but I'll take the challenge.
Like a jiu-jitsu type of
or like boxing. Just basic hand-to-hand combat you learn in the military. Like nothing super aggressive. I did tell you better guard your neck because if you tell you right now you open your neck up, I'm going for it.
We did some training with Eddie Mason, Redskin great linebacker up there in Virginia. He Mason training. Used to train with him. And man, I tell you, I'll be in that gym with him and like Lorenzo, and he had this circuit rolling around. And one circuit was you had to wrestle, like go like submission style against the person before you.
Yeah.
I had Lorenzo Alexander in front of me. So here I am, 185 pounds. This was like outside linebacker wearing 97. So he was like a good 270. It wasn't like Buffalo Bills Lorenzo. It was big Lorenzo.
Yep.
Man, we on that wrestling. I end up I would like across him like you're trying to pin him. This sucker bench pressed me and threw me across the whole damn gym, man.
Of course.
Oh gosh. I got back in there though. I was spicy. I was like,
good for you.
You remember seeing Tommy Davidson and you can imagine Tommy Davidson. That's what it looked like. I'm flying across the room, but I'm feisty. I'm back in there and never quit. We rang the bell. That was a hell of a fight, Nick. Hell of a fight.
I could see you being.
We used to when I was in Iraq. The final rep you did on bench. We called it the ain't no B rep. I'm not gonna say the word because it's a family show. Yeah. But the last rep you always did, you had to go. I ain't no. Get it off you.
We would say you got to get that big thing off you. Yeah, get it out. Yeah. I like that.
All right, so David's out in Indianapolis for the Combine. We got Anthony Armstrong, Nick Ashew as well. So Zach Ertz apparently is at least hoping the goal is to be back for week 1 of the NFL season. And, obviously he doesn't want to end his career on the injury that he had with the Commanders. Whether or not he's part of the roster is certainly still up in the air and how that gets approached and where he is. And obviously you hope the guy comes back and at least gets one more season, not to leave with the injury that he dealt with. But for all of the conversation about this defense and where they need to address all these needs. And by the way, all of those are true. I don't think let's start with guys that can tackle and we'll go from there. We'll raise the floor and just start with, basic tackling. Tight end is an issue for them. Ben Sinnott, we know, is somebody they've tried to involve. And there's a lot of pushback and where that was and whether it's Cliff Kingsbury and his, we understand, but all that's in the past now. What we do know is Sinnott is still on the roster, and there's a lot of veteran tight ends that are also going to be out on the market as well. I certainly wouldn't throw Travis Kelce into the mix. I think he's probably going to stay in Kansas City if he's going to be anywhere, guys. I don't think I'm going to try to hot take this and say they go out and get Travis Kelce like it makes any sense for them. But, in reality here, they do need more than just Ben Sinnott as sort of like the main tight end if they want to incorporate him more as a pass catcher for them. There's a lot of names out there like a David Njoku, Dallas Goedert would be great. He's 31, but I'd love to see them steal him away from Philadelphia if he's out there. If you're looking for a little bit more of a veteran, Tyler Higbee's another one, but he's 33. Austin Hooper, we talked about around the Super Bowl, is somebody on the Patriots you might want to see on this roster. Again, you can go down the list. There's a bunch of different names, a Noah Fant, Mo Alley Cox, Darren Waller's another one, but he's 33. I mean, again, I could list all the names. The big point here, though, Anthony, is when you look at this offense, we know that there are some needs that they have to address, and tight end is certainly one of them. And Zach Ertz, his first year in Washington, more than what they expected. This past season, even before the injury, there were highs, there were lows, there were penalties, there were mistakes, but there were some great moments too. When you look at the tight end position specifically, I know I look at it and clearly see they got to make some upgrades. They got to make some additions that are there, even if it's just it's a couple of veterans. If it's one, they have to certainly figure that out. When you look at it, Anthony, as a former wide receiver yourself, and you look at this offense, how important is that tight end position for them to upgrade?
It's a high priority, not number one, but it's a high priority. It's like some 1B maybe or just 2 to pass rush. It's simply because the way the league is going now, you have to have a weapon at that tight end position. You've seen the way that this 13 personnel has just taken over the league starting out west. It's going to make its way up here to Washington. You will see some 13 personnel. Now, what 3 tight ends do you want to have lined up out there? And when you look at it all, with Ertz wanting to be back by week 1, I wouldn't be mad if he's back just in a small role and understanding that, hey, it's not going to be a big contract. It's more from a mentorship side of things. And Adam Peters said, every decision we make is going to have Jaden Daniels in mind. Who's one of Jaden's best friends when it comes to getting the ball to somebody? Zach Ertz. And that would give some consistency, some continuity to a position that okay, he's going to be where I need him to be. I don't want him to carry the team. Not at all. No. But you look at Sennett and Bates. Bates is a great blocker. Want to see him get more involved in the passing game, see what that's going to look like. Sennett just kind of got a question mark about him. And that's going to come down to how David Blau wants to unleash him. Free agents, there are a lot of them out there. Isaiah Likely's a big favorite. And when we look at the draft, though, the draft is deep. But one name that's jumped out to me has been Oscar Delp, young fella out of Georgia. He's a fast guy, should be pretty speedy. And I figure if you can get a veteran like Ertz, maybe you can still, if you don't go Ertz and you get like a Likely, still going into the draft and getting somebody else that has that skill set that you're looking for, David. Oscar Delp was a guy I'm going to be paying attention to, but it's a deep, deep tight end draft.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just like you said, Max Clare out of Ohio State makes all the sense in the world. I'm going to call 2 shots here. I know that Anthony didn't say Max Clare out of Ohio State. I'm saying Max Clare out of Ohio State. But Oscar Delp would be great as well. I agree with you there. I'm going to call 2 shots. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Zach Ertz is going to sign with the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
And the Rams are going to visit Washington in week 5 of the 2026 NFL season on primetime, because that will set the NFL up to have all the cameras on Cliff Kingsbury, the assistant head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, coming back to Washington to teach those meanies a lesson for firing him or for agreeing to part
mutually
ways with him,
parting of the ways. Come on now,
Mm-hmm.
mutual agreement.
Brian Johnson, also now part of the Rams coaching staff as an offensive assistant. That's not going to be as much of a storyline, but it's a thing. And Zach Ertz,
we'll talk about it. Hell,
we will talk about it. I love Zach. I feel like as a competitor, like this dude has all the willpower in the world to be ready for week 1. But he's an older dude. That is a really bad knee injury that he suffered. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to start the season on PUP, which means the first game he can play, week 5, prime time in Washington for the Los Angeles Rams. And the thing about the Rams offense, when you look at this, because I agree with you guys, I think the rise in like 13 personnel and all this, and even 12 personnel is being used more, is significant. However, in Los Angeles, the tight end really doesn't matter. The tight end really is kind of an afterthought for the Los Angeles Rams offense. And so that's kind of the perfect place for a guy like Zach Ertz to go, where he can be a really good second or third option, probably third or fourth option really for Matt Stafford. The Rams are going to be expected to be a Super Bowl contender. So that gives the NFL some protection in case Washington does have another bad season. You still have the Rams as a marquee team to bring in there as the ticket and all these things. So it just makes a whole lot of sense. And don't forget that Zach Ertz also, when he came to Washington, one of the things that he told us was that he was really on the fence about retiring or not. And the reason he didn't retire is because there was a way for him to play for Cliff Kingsbury again. It just makes too much sense for it not to work out. Los Angeles is where Zach is going to go. I agree. I think they need to get younger. I love Zach as much as anybody but Nick. They've got to get younger at that position specifically. And so it just doesn't make sense for them to bring Ertz back.
Yeah, especially coming off that injury. Listen, it's hard to come back from a knee injury at any point. It's not an easy road, but it's certainly harder when you start hitting your 30s and mid 30s. And we know like recovery is just different. And I think that's something they're gonna have to factor in. But let's be honest, I would argue they got more out of Zach Ertz than a lot of people were certainly expecting,
100%.
especially that first year. So there's a certain point though where you have to just kind of move on from these guys where like, okay, thank you for your service, but we're going to have to go in a different direction here. And hopefully you can continue your career, even if it's a late stage there out in Los Angeles, like you mentioned. And also Brian Johnson joining the Rams as a senior offensive assistant. I mean, you're out there, David. I know they've said that they haven't had any sort of plan yet. Externally, people haven't heard a lot. Have you heard anything in terms of how that replacement's going to be? I see a little smirk. So there might be something you heard.
Like the other
I like weird. Let's go weird.
The other side
do I need the tinfoil hat though?
There's some weird. No, I'm talking about like what I'm watching.
Like gosh.
Some Buffalo Bills fan wearing sweatpants just went run down the street with like 5 Buffalo Bills mini helmets, and he's holding up his sweatpants. I'm pretty sure he just robbed the team store or something. I don't know what is going on.
Gosh.
But like,
oh my gosh. You had me you had me thinking
I
it was
feel like we need a separate camera of like what your view
Yeah,
is.
it's
we
wild.
Just bring it up here and just keep it. It's like the live stream of what everybody's doing out there.
It's wild. There's a dude walking by. I'm pretty sure reading off a Sean McVay play call to himself. Oh, we got more people running. We got Giants fans around. There must be like players or like Harbaugh is over there and they're trying to get autographs or something.
Are you on your phone right now or are you on your laptop?
I am.
Like, is there any way you can turn your camera around? Okay. I'd love to see what's going on.
I don't know. I can't see the frame though. Like there's another one.
Yeah.
There's
nobody
Jersey. That New Jersey.
Somebody running.
Y'all see him?
Yeah, I can see somebody if you zoom it a little bit. There's definitely
somebody
running.
I definitely can't zoom it, but
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the smart Giants fan. There you go.
Somebody, he's on a scooter. Yeah, he's on a scooter. Okay,
Forget the running. Let's get the mini helmet and get on the scooter.
Compliments on the show today. I like that.
All right,
off season.
Yeah, there must be some Giants personnel or Bills personnel something over there. Here's another one. I don't
Maybe it's the GM.
I feel like you need to go investigate now.
Like free pizza? I don't know.
Maybe it's the GM.
I feel bad for this one. I'm not going to put him on camera. I feel bad for him. Good. God bless you, brother.
Yeah.
He is trying.
That's so crazy. Look.
All right.
Look.
Commanders fans, like, what are we watching right now? What is this that we turned into?
Listen, this is the offseason. What are we going to do? We got plenty of stuff to talk about and play. Right now, the view that you have is just as valuable as anything else. You got something else going on?
Hold on.
What's going on?
No, we keep talking. I'm just
you talking off season. Every off season, I picked up a new hobby.
I'm just giving you a heads up.
All right, what's your new hobby? We have to worry about Brian Johnson then. We could there he
is again.
That's
look
a lot
at the George
neon.
Jefferson. You see that George Jefferson wall?
Yes. Hey, if you're listening to the audio only podcast of this, you're missing out. You gotta watch this on YouTube. You're gonna need to go to the YouTube version of this because it's a dude in neon sleeves and neon compression pants, and he's just waddling by, waving his arms. He looks like a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, just like arms going everywhere with that. You're definitely seeing some stuff, man.
I'm calling him the pickler.
Also like the George Jefferson walk.
My mind is like, what do you do in your normal job? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, hey, I'm with Allstate. Just want to check with you about your insurance. But also on Sunday, you can catch me in a full-on neon green tight outfit going crazy for my home team. And I ain't even mad at it, man. Give me that same type of energy. That's how I like when I work with my clients, man. I'm like, nah, take the damn suit off and just relax. You know what I mean? If the game is on right now, how you gonna act? Because I don't need that old uptight stuff, Nick. We need to be straight, cool, relax, and chill. That's how I like to work.
So before we got distracted by all the crazies, which by the way, I'm all for the crazies and everything going on there. So if you see anything else, David, just get it on camera. I don't care. And if anybody's only lining, all the more reason to go to the YouTube version of this. Do we think do we have any idea what they're going to do replacing Brian Johnson at all? Or is that still very much up in the air?
So Adam Peters said as of right now, they're just going to kind of replace that in-house. And the thing about it is, so I had this conversation on Locked On Commanders when Jason Simmons left, defense pass game coordinator prior to the arrival of Durante Jones. typically, and I don't even have like empirical data on this or how many times it happens, but typically when, say, a defensive pass game coordinator gets hired to become a new team's defensive coordinator, because he is a pass game coordinator himself, he doesn't tend to keep that position filled on his staff because that's his wheelhouse. David Blau is a quarterback. David Blau obviously understands the nuances of the passing offense, not just from an intellectual standpoint, but from an execution standpoint, even more so than Brian Johnson. Like Brian Johnson, NFL career, not what David Blau's was, et cetera, et cetera. So I honestly was a little bit like, the conversation we had was, how is Brian Johnson going to feel being the assistant head coach, passing game coordinator, not getting the offensive coordinator job? Is he really going to work for a guy who's now in his third year as a coach? Like, I didn't know how that would go over with Brian Johnson. And so I kind of had this vibe, like maybe he's going to stay, maybe he's not going to stay. And really, I think it boiled down to, do I have an opportunity elsewhere, that's better? If not, I'll be the good troop and things like that. So with him now gone, I honestly don't know that they'll fill it anyway, because again, David Blau, like, he wasn't an offensive pass game coordinator, sure, but like passing is his wheelhouse. And I feel like if they were going to fill that position, then what they probably would have done is brought in a guy already, and they'd be calling him, oh, he's the offensive assistant. And then now they would say, okay, he's actually the offensive pass game coordinator. And it's revealed that they were kind of planning for this all along. Perhaps, this is just kind of a wild thought, Wes Welker, we've been told, is going to be on the offensive coaching staff this season, and his position was undetermined. Just he's going to be on the offensive staff. He's not a quarterback, but perhaps, I don't know, maybe he'll be the new offensive pass game coordinator. I think Wes Welker knows a thing or two about passing attacks, right? So perhaps that could be a move. But right now, Adam Peters says they're just going to absorb that responsibility internally, which I read to be David Blau's a quarterback. He doesn't need a pass game coordinator.
Man, they know better than we would. I mean, it's one of those newer positions anyways, where it's kind of like you have an extra person that, you don't really know where to put them. And you just say, hey, just cover this for us. And I was talking about this in a group chat. It just seems like a lot of teams are really adding more coaches to get hyper specific on what they focus on. They could very well, like you said, just shift west to, paying attention to more of the passing game and what looks good and what concepts are there. And AP did make a comment about making sure there's just enough and the right coaches around David to make sure he has a chance to have success. There's a lot more to being an offensive coordinator than just working with the quarterback, right? You have to communicate to everybody. You have to be able to present to the entire room. You have to be able to talk about what the protections look like. I mean, let me not say that. I know some of the coordinators I've been in have explained the protection and have, talked out how everything goes. He may defer to the offensive line coach. So we'll see. That's going to be something to be interesting how it plays out. But ultimately, you just kind of trust this process. How's it going right now? Because I honestly thought Brian was going to end up staying since it kind of got this far down the line. But since he has gone to LA, it's going to reset the clock on. I'm thinking about black head coaches now. Like, is he going to get back in the mix? The young fella that was getting their head coaches interviews, Nate, I can't say his don't know his last name. Nate S. I sound like a teacher. Nate moved up to the offensive coordinator. Yeah, he moved up. So it'll be interesting to see just how these next few years go about, especially since he's getting into that McVay system, Nick.
And well, the McVay system does make people better. I mean, we've seen that from quarterbacks, maybe to coaches, and maybe it helps Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe it helps him develop as a coach too, and gets out of that and finds another offensive coordinator job and kind of goes from there. All right, speaking of offenses, the Eagles had themselves a ton of problems offensively this past season, and now it sounds like it only might get worse. What's going on with the rest of the NFC East as we get ready for the Combine to get started, where David Harrison actually is out there, Anthony Armstrong and Nick Ashew as well, right here on Commander's Squad. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes, and here is how it works. You just use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two, and that's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, then this is the perfect time to lock it in. And I love the futures this time of year, too. This is a great spot to be in. And whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds the layer of excitement every game down the stretch, because it's not just one. You're sitting there hoping things continue as you get closer and closer. And no, you can not only just pick your cash, but you can also it can also send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we got David Harrison out in Indy. We got Anthony Armstrong. We got Nick Ashew. Right now, the question, of course, is whether or not A.J. Brown will be back with the Eagles and Nick Sirianni essentially leaving it up in the air. And we know how Nick Sirianni is. He's a troll and he's obnoxious, and it's great when they win and Philadelphia fans accept him. And then the minute they start losing, he's on the hot seat. The one thing we know for sure is that the Eagles have struggled to have consistency at coordinators, especially on the offensive side of things. It's not like this is the first year that we watched A.J. Brown cryptically post things on social media and look upset on the sidelines, because you know how it is, Anthony. All these receivers are divas. Every one of you guys are all just divas. All you want is the football. Look, A.J. Brown is a world-class talent. And when you're not getting the football as a receiver, in all seriousness, like, it's really hard for you to do your job. And A.J. Brown was not getting the football consistently. It's clear he was not on the same page as Jalen Hurts. I would make the argument that we could be saying in a year that Jalen Hurts is the fourth best quarterback in the NFC East, but that depends on what John Harbaugh is able to do with Jackson Dart in New York, and we are far away from that being the case. But look, there are questions about this offense in Philadelphia. They've revamped in terms of offensive coordinator, coaching staff, and now it's about what's going to happen with A.J. Brown. He's a talent, but if he's not happy, Anthony, this may be one of those things where Philadelphia just says, we got to move on. We got to go somewhere else with him.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think they have to break up. And it's one of them things, you know, them couples that you see where they just say always they break up and then they back together.
Yep.
It's like, I thought y'all broke. Oh, and we got back together. It was all good. Like, that's what it's becoming right now. But I understand the frustration, because the offense was bland as hell last year. I'm talking about vanilla. And I like vanilla ice cream, but it was like no flavors. Like, why does this taste like nothing? Because it was nothing to the offense. And even when
that vanilla had freezer burn, Anthony. It had freezer burn. There was no flavor to it. Yeah.
I thought it was just extra little crystals they sprinkled on top. It was garbage. It was just a boring offense. And you can see the limitations to that offense. There's no creativity. And I mean, as a receiver, like, yeah, you want the ball in your hand, Nick. I want to catch the rock. I only get 7-8 chances that they're going to throw the ball my way out of 70 plays. So, yeah, I want to get the ball in my hand. I want to make an impact. I want to put the ball in the end zone because they pay me big money. And Philly fans are going to be going crazy. They're like, we need to cut this bum if he ain't getting no yards and performing. So that's what it is. But that offense is garbage. I'd be upset too. Devontae's over there like, hey man, I ain't gonna say it. AJ's gonna say it. I ain't gonna say it. That's kind of how he rolls, I figured, man. Yeah. But look, would y'all take AJ Brown out of all these receivers that's upset and disgruntled and left and all of that? Would you take AJ Brown? I don't think Philly would award us that. Well,
that's the thing. They'd never make that trade.
But
this isn't Donovan McNabb. You know, this isn't gonna be Donovan McNabb where they know he's washed and they make that trade, David. But I'll tell you what, it'd be. If A.J. Brown was a free agent, I would love him in Washington. I'd take him over Brandon Ayuk. I know that.
Been on the field recently.
Yeah. I mean, look, the talent is obvious, right? I don't know that this team, that anybody who's really going to have a fit over their individual performance, you know, or individual contributions is going to really fit what they're trying to do here. Now, the question is, like there's a difference here. Like, I remember hearing Devontae Adams at one point complain about not getting the ball after the team won, right? Like, your team won the game and you're mad because your stat line wasn't great despite the fact that the team won the game. That, I think, is where it's a problem. Now, if AJ Brown's point is like, listen, our offense is not doing well, it's freezer burned vanilla ice cream, and I'm not getting the ball, give me the ball will not be freezer burned, will at least be French vanilla ice cream, right? Like, then I kind of see your point. Now you're kind of getting into the wheelhouse of you're a competitor who knows you can make a positive difference. I mean, the problem in Philly is Jalen Hurts. Like, let's just be real about it. And I think that when you watch the body language, even on Hard Knocks, like, there's clips on Hard Knocks where you see it, and Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley are all kind of congregating, and guess who's not there with them? Jalen Hurts. There's clips that have been going around, Jalen Hurts trying to give a pep talk, and what are those three guys doing? Not paying attention. They're doing their own thing. Sometimes they're mocking him, right? Like, I think your three playmakers are not jiving with your quarterback. And I know the quarterback is the most important position on the field, but is that a quarterback problem or is that a three playmakers problem? I don't, the laws of averages would say it's probably the quarterback that's the problem, not the three playmakers that have a problem with him. And again, that's just my impression, but it's also what I've seen covering, the Commanders Eagles games. And like, yes, unfortunately, because of the world we live in, I've actually paid attention to this dynamic, standing on the field at the link, that last game between the two teams. I was actually watching in warmups, like how do they interact together? How do they? And they basically don't. Like that's basically the answer is they don't.
Yeah.
And the opposite of love is not actually hatred. The opposite of love is actually indifference. And to me, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley just kind of feel indifferent towards Jalen Hurts. So if you want to fix the Eagles, which nobody here does, I think you got to move on from Jalen Hurts. So in that case, what I'm saying is extend Jalen Hurts, franchise tag all three of those guys, and make them all play together for the rest of their futures. But no, I think AJ Brown's gone, not coming to Washington. Given what we know, yes, I would take AJ Brown over Brandon Ayuk as well. But that's based off of what we know, not what Adam Peters knows, which interestingly enough, had a conversation with Adam Peters about what he knows versus what the public knows. So
I feel like you're saving that. Are you
I
saving
would
that?
too.
Is that what's going on? You being
Let that
Steve, when you
marinate.
strokes the beard, we got nothing. That's the hole we got to wait. It's gonna make us
Let
wait.
that marinate.
you know what?
Let me
What
ask-
just crossed my mind though, Nick. I'm very, very interested. Anthony, you weren't here, but Nick will fill you in on our next episode. At least one of the topics we're talking about on the next episode. I'm really interested in Anthony Armstrong's unbiased opinion.
Okay. Yeah. We'll save that for Thursday's episode because I know you had a David has a very unique idea for the Commanders and something on offense, and we'll just leave it at that.
Fair
And
enough.
we'll talk about that on Thursday after he puts out his individual Locked On Commanders podcast about it. Let me ask you guys this: and I understand it's Eagles Commanders, so there's not going to be a trade that actually happens here. But if you were a GM of another team, let's just say, just so this feels less emotional at all and rivalry-esque, what would you give up for A.J. Brown if you needed a wide receiver with his talent and you had the quarterback in place? What would you guys give up? Because I don't think you're getting a first-round pick if you're Philly at this point because the production's been down, even if it's on Jalen Hurts. But I feel like you're probably looking at a second and maybe a conditional fourth or fifth type situation, depending on performance. I kind of feel like that's what the market might look like for him. But this is total speculation at this point. But I don't think Philadelphia is getting a first-round pick for him at this point.
I mean, the value of the picks is something that blows my mind. Because sometimes it's like, why does he get two and then this person doesn't? I feel like the talent is there, and more so, like you can't really go by the production. Everybody's going to try to. The people on the front offices will do that. But when your production's down, he's going to be like, come on, guys. You heard what David said. It's not me, so it's other situations that are holding me back. But in that instance, you may be able to get him on the cheap. If it's a team to where if you're doing it just to get a guy and you don't really think it's going to advance you, then I say pass and then try to get younger and then just go from there. Like, would he make sense in New York with the Giants? That's an interesting one. Can Harbaugh, keep him in line? But that'd be one hell of a 1-2 punch. I don't want to see it. So no, it doesn't work over here. Send him all the way out to the West Coast or something. But if he's going to take you over the hump and he's going to draw enough of attention for your team, I say, yeah, you got to make that play. Like the Seahawks, they would make that play, right? Just think how much more open JSN would be. Like, so yeah, you got to do it if it's going to help, take your team up. F them picks.
I think if you've got draft capital, and I say this not knowing everybody's draft picks, and I say this not knowing AJ Brown's remaining contract, just be transparent. But I think if you got draft capital, it's in the top half of like the third round, fourth round, so if you're like the Chiefs, for example, coming off the season they just came off of, I think you offer a fourth that could be conditionally set to could conditionally become a third, and we take all of his money. So the Eagles have no dead cap. So if you're Philly, you're getting no dead cap. You're getting an early fourth round pick from us because, we had a down season, and projected early because obviously we're talking about next year. If it's or if it's a conditional pick, that could become a third round pick. Now, obviously, the risk is the Chiefs come back, they ball out, and now all of a sudden that fourth or that third round pick is like the last pick in the third round before compensatory picks. If you're picking in the back half, so if you're the Seahawks, for example, I think the Seahawks would be a great pairing, actually. Then I think you're just going straight up third rounder. And again, we're taking all the money. That's how you drive down that draft pick compensations. We take all the money. It gives Howie Roseman all that money freed up to go after an Alec Pierce or whoever else he wants to bring in here to get ruined by his quarterback. And I think that kind of a deal makes sense for both sides.
All right, David is live in Indianapolis. He mentioned steak. Where he goes to eat steak on this trip and what he wants to see there in the last couple of minutes next. It's Commander Squad. David Harrison live from Indy. We got Anthony Armstrong. We got Nick Ashew, Commander Squad. Steak is a big thing out there in Indy. I know that. You going to St. Elmo's? You going to Prime 47? What are you doing out there?
I am not. I'm going to ruin a whole lot of people's imaginations. I'm here for work and work alone. I'm literally on a turn and burn. I left my house at 1 a.m. Virginia time and drove straight here to the convention center. I'm working all the way until the time I'm done working. My last hit, I got a 6 p.m. radio hit with ESPN Richmond. And after that, hopefully, my plan is to be done after that. So 6:30-ish, head back to the hotel. I've got half a Wawa sub sitting in the fridge of my hotel room. I'm going to write a couple of articles as I eat that Wawa sub. And at that point in time, 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish, I've been up since midnight. I will happily pass out and then wake up and drive home. I'm here for work only. No fun for this guy.
Wow.
Well, my job is fun.
surprised.
So, I mean, it's all fun. But
There's that. So, all right.
Yeah,
I've
that's
gotta
how I'm
be
doing it
honest,
this
I'm
year.
kinda
Previous years I
surprised
did
about
it bigger, but this year that's
Yeah.
how I'm doing it.
Do you,
No
do you have a favorite out of those steakhouses?
I love St. Elmo's. I think the last time I went to St.
Yeah.
Elmo's was last year, actually. So I was able to bring my wife and my son with me. We got a B&B. We made a week out of it. We actually stayed past the combine and spent way too much money on him at the mall. Went to St. Elmo's, dropped like $400 on a bill, and like 80% of it was my steak. It was a great time. Yeah, I actually love Indianapolis. Just this year, just the way everything worked out, didn't really have the time to commit to it as much as I usually do. So this will be a one-off. Next year we'll do the whole thing again, and we'll do the steakhouse and all that stuff.
All right. Well, on Thursday, we will get your full review on what you saw at the combine, what went down, and of course, some of the things the Commanders need to do offensively, especially something very specific that David has presented to me that I will not say. I will wait, and we'll talk about that on Thursday, as well as we head fully into the offseason with the Commanders, from the draft to free agency to franchise tags, all of that. Commanders Squad is going to be on it every step of the way. Make sure you also check out the Locked On Commanders podcast every day as well. Like and subscribe. Give us a follow on all the socials, all of those things. Follow all the rules. That's what we got to do today. It's Commanders Squad.